I think that this 3-week program, it has been the best course I've ever undertaken in my life.
So I believe that the program itself is designed such that I'll be able to think outside the box. It will make me a better person, to make a difference in South Africa, and also to add value in other people's work.
I have to say, initially when I got accepted, I was a little bit intimidated, thinking as a nurse I'm going to come and have to sit here and do difficult math, and I wasn't sure if I'd be able to do it.
Before I started this program, we used to use a lot of systems analysis tools, but mainly within an engineering and problem-solving context.
But this week we've really been exposed to many different things, not just the mathematics and the research designs, but also coming into contact with our own humanity and realizing that if we're going to develop a system, it won't just be for things and numbers, it's going to ultimately be for humans.
The interesting thing I found after a week and a half in this program is how broad the applicability of systems analysis tools are, just in creating pictures so you can understand, not necessarily to problem solve. Now, although this is very different than an engineering mindset, it shows that there are some tools which are helpful just to give you an idea, and then in the future, or you can give somebody else the chance to develop a solution, but you just want to understand what's actually going on.
In the science environment, one of the biggest challenges is insufficient human capital and also insufficient people to train other PhDs and also to become knowledge workers.
So the intentions are meet with experts, get to know them, get to know their names. The second thing is to enjoy the juxtaposition of the two areas we're in, urban and rural, to work together on developing some new systems programs. We want to give you 2 days of exposure of how to think about leading in a difficult, uncertain world. And then finally, you must all leave in 3 weeks' time with a manuscript that you can go home proudly and publish. It's very apparent that we are not training enough graduate students or enough young researchers to answer many of the problems that our planet is now experiencing.
And if you speak of systems analysis, you are looking at coming up with solutions that are responding to society, solutions that are responding to policies that our governments are putting in place, as well as solutions that are shared across the world to respond to local challenges that we have.
So in terms of the skills development and the capacity building, we are hoping to help these emerging researchers establish themselves in their field, but also to be strong researchers. So learning project management skills, maybe learning supervision skills.
And we cannot answer those problems if you only study one discipline. So it's difficult to study more than one discipline as an individual. So therefore we need to work in disciplinary teams across systems. So that's what we're trying to give these participants, is a very wide range of experiences and diversity of opinions.
And it is for that reason that we as a university have decided to invest in systems analysis so that our students as well as our emerging researchers think in an integrated way, so that in the future they have the skills to be able to solve problems in an integrated way.
And as the NRF, we believe funding systems analysis, we will directly alleviate some of the problems that we are faced with in South Africa and in the world.
I don't know how many of you took time to Google feeding the world 50 years from now in preparation for this talk. There's so much that's being said. So what that says is that that's the big worry. It's a worry for the planet, and our role is to worry on behalf of the planet, because we spend a lot of time worrying about ourselves at the expense of our planet. In a world where we are facing wicked problems such as climate change, malnutrition, hunger, we just need to take a systems approach. And unfortunately, the education that the majority had did not allow for that. So it's important at some stage to step back, bring in a community of experts who are still scholarly, thirsty for knowledge, to share experiences and come up with an intersectoral approach to solving the wicked problems.
And systems thinking and systems science working collaboratively together, you often get to a point where actually these are coming together to ask that why and what, and then tailoring the tools to help you get to the right picture so you can solve it. So there's actually quite an important point there. So wicked problems can be solved. They're only wicked until as long as you don't understand them. And that's what you're trying to do, get the different perspectives on it.
I think ultimately is if we keep on doing things the same way, we'll get just more of the same result. So in this program, because we're exposed to so many different views, it helps us just to see the limitations of our own field. And although I might not be able to do all the modeling and all the math myself, because I'm more concerned about human beings and their experience, but I now realize that I need those expertise and that I can find them. They are at my own university, they are at other universities, but they're also in other countries.
So we're living in this world of, you almost use the word great uncertainty and volatility. And the thing is, I don't think it's going to change too soon, and we need to be comfortable in that uncertainty. We actually need to be able to make sense of what's certain and what is uncertain and split it out so that we can have a bit of comfort walking through this arena of uncertainty.
So what I'd like to achieve with the emerging researchers is to position their research into a bigger picture. So I wanted to go as big as looking at what the global world is going to look like in the next 5 to 10 years, because they will still be doing their research within that time frame, and to try and open up their thinking to the fact that it might not be one single projected future. There might be a few futures that would play out, and they need to say, does this affect my research? Will it change anything, or am I still on track?
You have like one lemming that decides to jump into the sea, and all the other lemmings decide to follow him. So you have some kind of synchronized behavior, and then collectively all these poor lemmings commit mass suicide together. Or this you could call systemic risk. Systemic risk in financial systems is the risk of a collapse of the entire financial system or the market. So in one scenario that could cause this is an initial shock. This can be an unexpected initial event that can be very small, like for instance. The most important thing that I try to explain is that the financial system is really tightly interconnected nowadays. Then this means it can be represented by a financial network that represents all these interconnections between financial institutions.
Me, I've learned a lot, and the one thing that stands out is not to look at things in one angle. So we look at things in different angles and different parts and try to analyze them, and at the end, look at the overall, look at it as a whole model.
And this is exciting and allows for work to be done between disciplines where some people understand the context better and can model it better, and then maybe give it to engineers and other disciplines who can develop solutions. But then you can have the specialists really giving you the true sense of the problem instead of maybe just an engineering mindset giving you both the problem and the solution.
I think it helps. It will help me a lot in terms of designing projects, because that's what I do at work. I design projects based on government concerns.
Well, systems analysis is opening the mind to the ideas from other fields that might be relevant to the problem you're working on. The problem that I work on in international relations is peace and security and democracy, that is the basis of for a peaceful negotiated solution to problems, and that can be informed by science.
A positive feedback is when you've got a system, think of that first diagram I showed you, and you gave a little nudge to one of those components, and it works its way through the system and it comes back and bumps you. The negative feedback, I mean, everyone's very down on negative feedback. Oh, negative feedback. Oh, no. Negative feedbacks are what keeps systems in existence. If we didn't have negative feedbacks, we wouldn't have systems because they would all rush off and become something else.
I think what's important about systems analysis is that depending on what disciplinary training you've had, you tend to think differently. And when people think differently, you have more creative solutions. So we only have one planet, and we cannot mess with this planet in the way that we've done for the last 100 years into the future. So what tools can we use to make us more efficient in finding sustainable interventions into the future?
The opportunity that such kind of conference actually gives to young scholars for collaboration is really amazing.
After I leave here, what I hope to have is fellow colleagues and friends in various disciplines that I can contact in order to build more comprehensive models.
And we found that somehow, if you look at what you're doing as a researcher, you can find some commonality and some opportunities for collaboration.
So I think the key is that network, to be able to network with people from outside the country.
One. That's two. Choose. And K, ga. K, 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 ga. K, 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 ga. K, 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 ga. Ga, ga. Remember the last two? Okay.
So if you're a good facilitator of workshops, you cannot just have lectures, because most of us know that adults cannot concentrate for more than 20 minutes at a time. So we need to vary the types of activities. So we have some lectures, we have some networking activities where we get the participants to draw what they can conceptually conceive.
The program we had on leadership, right? I think that was good because it's like you are trained there to uproot the strongholds of the mind, because you can be successful in your career not knowing that there is a part of you that you've been neglecting.
Emerging researchers have got the responsibility of not just delving into their area to better understand that, but to also design something and design systems that will benefit people and or planet.
I would hope that each one of these individuals walks away with the determination to be not just a good scientist, but a good leader of whatever field they're working in, and hopefully working with other leaders to make the whole more than the sum of the parts.
I examined myself to look at what kind of leader am I becoming. It gave me a different perspective. I know what I'm supposed to do right now to be a better leader. I've been able to identify some of my flaws, and I'm actually very, very optimistic.
And if they can bring metacognition and the ability to reflect on self as human beings and as designers of systems, the chances are we'll design systems that are far more useful to people and planet.
The WITS rural facility really surprised me. Although it is rural, you tend to have a lot more fun in it, mainly because monkeys will wake you up in the morning by knocking on the door, as well as various animals appearing and just giving you that extra boost.
Now,
I thought of giving you a rather broad introduction to the system analysis of risk that would be more relevant to many of you this morning, talking about some of the work that we do at YASA. And if you are an expert on risk, some of the things that I am going to talk about would be a little bit introductory, and my apologies for that.
We are also having specifically what we call a writing retreat. And the product of that writing retreat will be a manuscript that will be publishable. Each of the participants were asked to bring along their own research work, their data, the data analysis and interpretation. And during the 4 days, they will sit down with a very well-experienced facilitator and focus on writing their own research manuscript with the intention of getting it published.
Someday come together, and united we shall stand. Let us live and strive for freedom in South Africa, our land.
We started off in Johannesburg, which was quite metropolitan and is developed. Then the workshop moved us to a less developed and more sort of poverty-stricken area. So there's the whole. I feel this will expose most of researchers who don't appreciate the two dynamics.
And that's a nice contrast to the city where, although there's a lot going on, it's mainly human-based activity, but here you see nature's forces at play, which is very interesting.
You know, obviously there's still scope for research when you look at the social side of things and the natural research as it is.
I would like to thank Mary for being the soul and the mind and the leader of this program. I think it wouldn't be that good if it wasn't for her.
The way Mary has structured the program is like, it's beyond my expectation, you know? It's just beyond what I expected.
I also think this is a program that every emerging researcher needs to attend.
I think the key thing is not only for our current generation, but for the people that are coming behind us for the next 10 years. You would need to be trained and attend a systems dynamic applied systems analysis workshop, because we will equip you with the tools that will be required, and this workshop will teach you how best to use your energy and what tools you can use to make a difference.